into Weather Center Live. We're going to dig right into one of our big stories here, Tropical Storm Danny. And if you were just watching AMHQ, you heard Jim Cantori talking about this, looking like a very interesting tropical storm, right? Very well-defined little center right there. But as of the latest advisory, Danny, 50-mile-per-hour winds moving west at 10 miles per hour. And another interesting facet to this is that the models are really hooking on to where Danny is headed next, and that it is moving off to the west and still looking at a possible hurricane status update maybe today. It looks kind of interesting, but certainly according to the forecast, by the time Friday night into Saturday is looking right now, that's what we're calling for. As far as the conditions that we find right now, you know, all season it's been really hostile for tropical development, a lot of dry air, a lot of shear. We've got a couple things changing up in Danny's favor here. And what you're looking at here, areas of wind shear. Bright reds is where we have the winds at higher speeds. That's going to knock down tropical development. But where you see the little holes, the lighter shades of blue, that's where there's less shear. And you can see that the environment that Danny will be riding in a little more favorable than it has been all season long, it seems, in this area. So we'll have to see in the short term and certainly the long-term weather, even a little bit of shear will hinder development. The satellite picture, the visible satellite, where we're basically looking at the first light of day images of the clouds, and you see it's very small, but you got a very distinct center and a little eye here. So the question is, how much coverage do we have over that eye? And is that a sign that maybe the next update we're going to have something a little bit stronger than a tropical storm, right? Here's a look at the winds, and they're all funneling into the center of Danny. And when you look inside the storm, it's telling a story too. We're going to get to that in just a second. But Jen, our other big story, of course, all of the heavy showers and thunderstorms in the Northeast.
Yeah, we had some big rain yesterday. I know some of you looked out the window and you said, well, this is like a tropical storm. Right. I mean, the rain that we were getting out there, it was pouring, and it caused some big issues when it comes to flooding. So we're going to show you what happened in Scotch Plains, New Jersey.
Live now from a ball field in Scotch Plains, New Jersey.
All right, so Reagan, I know you always find some really dramatic examples of what happened after the water. And answer the question for us, where did this water come from?
Maria, back to you.
All right, Reagan, thank you. I can't believe the water was all the way over the road.
Yeah.
And we saw it up to that gas station on the other side of the road. So yeah, flooding, water just knows no bounds, right?
And you know it's not going to take much when you have a scene like that today, and hours away of potentially more. You have that flow, Jen, that we talk about, all of that humidity and that moisture coming in, and that's not looking good.
You see two things in this radar. A, you see the storms moving up slowly from south to north, and that's not good because you'll get some training since they're actually not pushing east all that quickly.
Right.
So when you get underneath the thunderstorm, you're likely to be under training for quite some time.
And that's what it looks like is going to happen here as we get in 3 and 4 o'clock. We do have that potential right there and through upstate New York. But there you go, more showers and thunderstorms filling the New York metro area.
All right, so already, you know, when it comes to travel today, airports are a mess. We've got a lot of delays, expecting more today because we are expecting more rainfall, not to mention the drive to the airport could be rough with all this rain. To the south this morning. Thanks for staying with us here on Weather Center Live. In the lab, I'm Jen Carfagno.
And I'm Maria LaRosa. And really, we have so many big stories to cover, but one right now that's standing out because of what may or may not happen in the next 20 minutes or so is features. I mean, it's got that eye already and that great outflow.
And you can see around the center of where the eye is visible that there is thunderstorm activity almost nearly around it completely. From the visible satellite, you could see that from the cumulus clouds kind of bubbling up. From this vantage point here, from the infrared, you can see how we have some of those brighter colors right around the center.
And yeah, like you said, concentric right there. But as of the latest advisory, which was 5 a.m. this morning, 50-mile-per-hour winds, but it's still very much on that westward track at about 10 miles per hour. And that's one thing that this has been very consistent with, is that westward track.
You know, in the last advisory, the headline for the public advisory was Danny's in no hurry.
Yes,
and it's not. I mean, really, it hasn't been moving very fast at all. And it's just doing its own thing here, continuing to strengthen.
Again, this is another view right here of that visible. And you see the little kind of little striations out. That's that outflow. I'm sorry, Jen, you have the erase on your side.
Oh, I do, don't I?
But yeah, so again, in that regard, it's looking pretty healthy. Oh, yeah, that's a great shot right there.
And yeah, you can really see, like, look right here. I'm going to right in here is where we have some of those thunderstorms bubbling up. So it's not entirely around what is visible as the eye, but getting close. This is another view that lets us see where are those strongest and tallest thunderstorms.
Okay, this got us talking too. All right, this is microwave satellite imagery. So we were trying to figure out a way to communicate what exactly that means to everybody at home watching. And the best thing I think we came up with is an MRI, right? You penetrate and you get the inside view of the structure.
And so when the visible satellite gives us a view from the top, and we can see in some cases how the thunderstorm clouds are bubbling up at the top. But where is the heaviest of rain? Where are the strongest or most densest of thunderstorms? Or most dense, I should say. They're right over here and making that sort of backward C around the center of circulation.
And when you look at some of the more powerful hurricanes in their microwave imagery, you see that go all the way around the center, showing a sign of a very well-defined eye structure. That's not looking too shabby, again, for a tropical storm. So one more tool to use to kind of give us an idea of what Danny is and what it could become. So again, this is actually still using the latest update from the National Hurricane Center, which now is a few hours old at this point, but keeping it at tropical storm strength through early tomorrow. We'll have to see.
Potentially to hurricane strength Saturday morning. But again, from a satellite perspective right now, it looks certainly very well organized for a tropical storm.
Yeah.
And this path as well, we're still pretty far out from the islands, but once we get into, say, the Saturday morning time frame, we may start to be getting some flights from the hurricane hunters into it, the closer proximity at this point into it, to get a better understanding and some observations of what's happening in there.
And it's one of those things too with models. We have the path very well down. We can get that a good idea of it. It's the intensity that is always a little tricky, especially when it's still out in the open water. You're not getting that direct data input, and that's why we have the hurricane hunters planned for tomorrow morning. But when you look at satellite information and all that other data, you kind of have to sometimes switch gears a little bit.
Right, exactly, because there's no buoys. I mean, out here, maybe a ship would be lucky enough to get underneath that, but likely they would go around it, right? So we would not get any good observations. All right, so let's talk about the things that go into either allowing it to strengthen or weakening a tropical cyclone. You want to have weak shear. You don't want for the cyclone to strengthen. You don't want to see these strong winds, because that would blow off the tops of the thunderstorms and not allow that energy to go into feeding into the circulation. And right now, it's in an environment of weaker wind shear.
But you see with the models overlaid here, the path here, generally speaking, it's not a ton of shear, and that's been one of the things that we've been watching all season long. It seems like in the Atlantic there's been a lot of shear, a lot of dry air, and you see towards the end here that maybe as it gets closer to, say, Puerto Rico, that there may be more shear, but otherwise that may not be as big an issue as it has been.
Right now it doesn't seem to be a concern. Also dry air. We've been talking a lot this whole season so far in the Atlantic about all the dry air, the dry dusty air over the Atlantic. Now this one, interestingly, has been in an environment with enough moisture to get going, and it looks like it's going to stay in an environment that will at least keep enough moisture around for it to keep going. So the dry air won't be an issue as we get in time.
But it's a really small little area that is favorable for that. There's a lot of dry air around it. We were even Dr. Postel sent out an email yesterday wondering, if any of that dry air would kind of get circulated in there. It doesn't look like that's happened just yet, but it's a small window of opportunity, or at least a narrow possibility of maybe some of that drier air getting in there, because there's just a small amount of moisture there.
It's a really interesting situation, and I feel like every time we get a new satellite image, we look to see what changes are happening. Every time, of course, new model runs come in, and the Hurricane Center putting out their advisories as well. There's just a lot of new information that will come in to keep us I wouldn't say guessing, but to keep us trying to figure out what the next step is.
Yeah, and again, we always talk about we don't want the property damage or lives affected here, but with that moisture in this part of the world would be huge, because it's a devastating drought there. I mean, we've both been in that area, and it's not the lush green tropical paradise.
No, it's dry. I mean, everything's crumbly. The brush is not green,
and they have to truck in water to certain places, and of course Puerto Rico's kind of that half of the island is
in their moderate
big drought
severe
there,
drought.
and the other half maybe not as bad.
Yeah. So that would be bringing in some needed moisture. That would be best case scenario, right? You get some rain, and you don't get the strong winds.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll keep watching this.
Yeah, we've got that update coming in just before about 10:50 or
Usually
so.
a little before 11 o'clock.
So we'll get that right to you. In the meantime, we had a lot of weather going on across the Midwest. Check out funnel cloud over Lexington County, Illinois. It's actually shot on Tuesday with the round of severe weather that came through that area. And now we know the National Weather Service confirming 2 EF0 tornadoes there on Tuesday.
All right, busy couple of days here. Now, according to the Facebook page, at one point a funnel appeared over the National Weather Service offices in Romeoville, forcing meteorologists to take cover, turning over the warning responsibility to the National Weather Service in central Illinois. They do have a plan if there is severe weather that threatens their office.
They do. And this had our eyes popping too.
Yeah.
Amazing video at an amusement park in the Philippines. Watch this as the clouds take over the mountain. And just sits on the rim of a volcano, just because it's that much more awesome.
Exactly, right? So yeah, looking into this here, they're actually up at about 2,000 feet. And if you were in, and I doubt they were running it, but if you were in that Ferris wheel there, it adds another 200 feet too.
Oh my gosh.
So you were in the clouds here.
Yeah.
You were in the shelf cloud right here.
And just to see it sped up there, pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Right now, and you know it will be on the move, and so we've got a couple more places to track the taste of fall. But let's check out some of these records. Oklahoma City, low of 50, the old record 56. Look at Childress, 59, pretty close to it. Lubbock, pretty close to it. In Wichita Falls, you broke a record too, down into the 50s, but it's not just the 50s, right? It's that drier air that has moved in too. So a very strong, powerful cold front with a lot of cool, dry air behind it dropping down. Look at this. This tells you everything you need to know. 5 to 20 degrees below average here from Minneapolis to Cincinnati, Shreveport, and Oklahoma City. You've got all those areas in blue. So that's pretty impressive. When you look at the 24-hour temperature change, another sign of just how significant this has felt and has been. 12 degrees cooler in Chicago than you were 24 hours ago, and 15 degrees cooler than you were 24 hours ago in Dallas. So that says a lot. So that touch of fall today goes even with the high temperatures just into the 60s from Green Bay, Chicago, mid-70s, which maybe isn't that bad. It feels pretty good, right? Shreveport looking at 83 degrees, 12 degrees below your average high. So as temperatures go down, it's still August, not quite fall yet. So there's going to be a rebound. You're going to see temperatures come back with that southerly flow back up into the 90s, Oklahoma City. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Even Dallas approaching that 100-degree mark. Oklahoma City feeling like summer by next week. Jen?
All right, it's short-lived little taste of fall there, but I think we'll take it, especially when you see what's coming back, right? Maria to show the temperatures that are coming back. The dew points are coming back up as well, even up into the Midwest. So get ready for a return to summer-like weather and a return to thunderstorms.